I disagree with the RSS definition of Hinduism and Hindutva completely. I don't think someone who is a Muslim or a Christian needs to be expected to embrace the definition of Hindu in that sense, because there are two problems with the approach. One, Bharat traces that very value precisely from Hindu Dharma. I don't think the definition of CA or the way it is being included as a humanitarian intervention as part of the Citizenship Act has anything to do with the topic here. So let me stick to the topic here. The point is, Bharatiyata ultimately means that your points of loyalty, your points of allegiance are not extraterritorial.
See, interestingly, both of us are just coming back from the Chief Justice's court. That's why both of us are trying to, let's say, channel those arguments.
So you didn't finish your arguments
No,
there?
it's
You want to
listed for
continue
April
them,
9th, in fact. So we are on the opposite sides in that matter. So I don't see why this has got to do with CA. But in any case, I'll try and address this. Just so that I answer your question to him in a slightly different fashion, I disagree with the RSS definition of Hinduism and Hindutva completely. At least on their attempts to say that everybody who is born in this country is a Hindu. I don't think that needs to be said. I don't think someone who is a Muslim or a Christian needs to be expected to embrace the definition of Hindu in that sense, because there are two problems with that approach. One, it dilutes the definition of Hindu Dharma for the followers of Dharma themselves. And second, it foists that concept on those who are not followers of the Dharma in that sense. You don't need to do that. According to me, good fences make good neighbors, period. You don't need to actually start this interfaith dialogue and look for equality and, let's say, similarity in everything. That is not even necessary. The point is very simple. When you speak of unity in diversity, Bharat traces that very value precisely from Hindu Dharma, because Hindu Dharma is ultimately an agglomeration of multiple faith systems within itself. Several denominations subscribe to those points of view which may not actually find a point of convergence in that particular sense. The Vaishnavite may ultimately see Vishnu as the supreme being. The Shaivite may ultimately see Shiva as the supreme being. The Shakta might see Shakti as the supreme being or Devi as the supreme being. For each of them, you can think of them as monotheism in silos, but it's a polytheistic pantheon in that particular sense. So unity in diversity, as far as Bharat is concerned, cannot have learnt it from anybody else except Hindu Dharma, at least in the history of the subcontinent, so to speak. So on that, I don't think there is a difference of view between Mr. Tanveer and me. There is a clear difference of view in the attempts on the part of, let's say, certain sections of certain cultural organizations to dilute the definition. Now, should we go to the argument of the CAA? I will just limit it to this because ultimately this matter has to be contested before the court of law, the Chief Justice's court on April 9th, which is the next date. The point is, I don't think that piece of legislation is meant to threaten anybody who lives here as a legitimate citizen of the country, regardless of their faith. Two, I don't think the definition of CAA or the way it is being included as a humanitarian intervention as part of the Citizenship Act has anything to do with the topic here. So let me stick to the topic here. The point is, Bharatiyata ultimately means that your points of loyalty, your points of allegiance are not extraterritorial, and that you choose loyalty to Bharat more than anything else. Now that is easy as far as adherents of Hindu Dharma is concerned, simply because their sacred spaces are here. But if you happen to follow a certain faith system, I'm not saying that it is impossible for a non-Hindu to be loyal to Bharat. I don't think that statement can be made at all, in light of the kind of examples that we have had, right from Sri Arif Muhammad Khan of today to Abdul Kalam of the past. So I don't think those examples are valid. Those who are able to reconcile their faith, which have emanated from other parts of the world, and their loyalty to Bharat, according to me, are fully capable of subscribing to the concept of Bharatiyata. I am not going to use religion as the sole and the primary filter to exclude people from the pale of Bharatiyata. I'm saying those who are able to strike that balance will obviously fall within the definition. Those who think that their personal identity from a religious point of view is at loggerheads with Bharatiyata would have made the decision anyways. I'm just hoping that since we are told that there is an Indian brand of certain foreign systems or foreign faith systems, there truly exists such Indian brands which is different from the brands that is followed in our immediate neighborhood. That's all I can say.